Hello, my dear friends. Yes, I'm Brother Sean, and I'm an enclosed, contemplative lay monastic Franciscan monk. My religious family is that as a Catholic Christian, but I embrace all faiths. That is the whole purpose of the Teo community that I was guided to establish for peace back in 2008. The short video here is about breaking down walls for peace. We know from watching the news some time ago on how the Berlin Wall finally came down and how the whole of the world rejoiced at man's inhumanity to man. That wall, the Berlin Wall, separated families and it created a divided Germany, East and West. And we have similar walls in Ireland, in Belfast, segregating the Catholics from the Protestants. And regrettably, in Israel, we have that monstrosity of a wall that separates the Israelis from the Palestinians. Are these walls necessary? Maybe from a political point of view they are, but what about God's point of view? What are these walls saying to us? Well, for me, they represent nothing but pure evil. They put a wedge of evil between the goodness that is within all mankind. And I do not believe for one moment that there's such a thing as an evil person. Because if I endorse that, then I am saying that God creates evil. That's total anathema. God is a God of love, not hate. And if God is a God of love, and we who love God, then it stands to reason that we are the epitome of that love, or are we? And I believe that when we have these barriers, like the Berlin Wall that came down eventually, but look at the pain it caused. Look at the lives that were lost trying to escape from East Germany to the West. And look at those politicians who overseen that, who encouraged that separation of a beautiful nation. And in Israel, the birthplace of the Abrahamic faith, we have Christian, Jew and Muslim despising one another. Well, my life is dedicated to peace, and I voluntarily made a commitment to God that I would surrender my life, my freedom, for peace in Israel. Not just for the Jews, but for the Abrahamic faith who live there. And remember, land is on loan. We don't own land. Because when we snuff it or cross over, our title deeds are forfeited. But the planet Earth is a gift from God and Gaia to us. We have no right, really. We're custodians of the earth. Would you think that when you see these huge monstrosities separating people, putting that wedge of evil and perpetrating that evil mindset? I witnessed that for myself as a young nursing monk in Northern Ireland back in the late 60s. I was seconded to our house, our hospital in Warrenpoint, County Down, that's since been sold on. But I was stationed there. And I witnessed for myself the atrocities committed by the IRA against their own people, not just the Protestants. The order I was with was a Catholic order of nursing monks, and the patients we had were the rejects of the two major psychiatric hospitals in Northern Ireland, Downpatrick and Purtisburn. And many of those patients were burnt out schizophrenic. Some were quite dangerous. Many were in locked wards, padded cells for their own safety. But do you know, because we looked after a population of ill people who were predominantly non-Catholic, because that was our constitution, to care for all God's children regardless of their belief, we paid the price from the IRA. And many's a night we were running around the grounds looking for patients who were supposed to be on a section. As a 21-year-old young monk, that was very stressful indeed. But why? Why is there such a division in man's hearts? I watched a program last night on the life of Amy Carmichael, a beautiful Protestant woman who gave her life to the people of Mumbai to save the young Hindu girls from a life of prostitution. What a fabulous story. And one of the persons that was influenced by her journey, who gave her life to God, returned to Belfast for 4 weeks and not only found the church where Amy went to, but found her birthplace in Northern Ireland. And she retraced her steps. And it was so beautiful. But you could see why young people are bypassing the church, because they're not connecting with the language of the church. Young people today have given up on God. God has not given up on them. And I feel that we have to revisit the language we use. There are barriers in all our lives, but love can remove those barriers. I know as a young boy growing up, we were influenced by the teachings of our church not to have anything to do with non-Catholic Christians. I realize now that that was an appalling thing to do. But we grew up with that mindset and that influence. But today we can make choices. And today the choice I've made in wearing this fancy dress is not for you to think, oh, aren't you marvelous? No, I'm human. I make mistakes. I have good days and I have dreadful days. I get depressed, I get ratty, I get irritable. And when I see the troubles in the Middle East, in Syria, at man's inhumanity to man, where I see two Islamic groups of people, the Sunnis and the Shiites, killing one another, it reminds me of Northern Ireland, Catholic and Protestant, Christians. These barriers that are within us are as real as the Berlin Wall. And the only way we can remove those walls that separate us from God, from each other, is to surrender our heart. Not very fashionable. We have to come away from that mindset of ego that says, I am right and you're wrong. I'm still apologizing for the mistakes I've made in the past. But I know that within my life there was a huge wall because of what happened in my childhood. But God was good and I was given the opportunity to heal my past. But we have to heal our wounds before we can step out in love. And in relation to the Berlin Wall type structures around the world, especially in Israel, separating the Palestinians from the Israelis, we have to pray for that to come down. That is not protecting anybody. The politicians might think it's protecting their people from further bombing and attack, but what it's saying to the world, I will defy reason, and I will defy the love of God. If you are a pacifist, if you are a peacemaker, if you are a person who says you love God, then join me. Let us pray for peace, and let us pray that this wall is dismantled brick by brick, just like the Berlin Wall, so that God's people can be free. They're not free because of fundamentalists who incite hatred on both sides. But as Israel, Judea is the birthplace, Jerusalem is the birthplace of the Abrahamic faith, Jew, Muslim and Christian, then you and I have a duty of care. Because I am part of that family and I want freedom. Join me. Bless you.